Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Friday Mastermind. Hopefully we have a minimal interruption from transitioning over here to Zoom. I think today's a really important topic, and I want to go over some practical ways that we can address the changes in the market. And before we get started, it's going to be, if you're not a numbers person, take some Advil, because we're going to go through a lot of numbers and give you some really good content to share with your clients. So I'd like to have everybody put in, if you could put in a minute, what you think the market's up in your local area from a year ago, because we're now in the first day of the third quarter. More than half of 2022 is gone. Can you believe that? So the stats are in. We're going to go over those. Put in the chat box, or if you want to just shout it out if you'd like. And, Robert, can you just write the numbers down if they're shouted out? What do you think the numbers are up in your market from a year ago, from, 2020, 2021, the year ended June 30th to the year ended June 30, 2022? Victor, what do you think?
If the numbers are up or down, is that what you need?
Yeah, how much is it up? Is it up 5%, 30%, 18, 22? What's your gut, Ron?
From a year ago today, let's see.
I use that stalling technique too. From a year ago today, just give me your gut.
Oh, no, I would say probably about 35%.
Ron. No cheating.
You say 35%. Colleen, what do you say?
To be cheating, I know the answer.
Okay, Robert Garver, what do you think?
The numbers are down.
You think the numbers from July 1 of 2020 to June 30, 21 are ahead of that same period ending in June 30th, 2022?
See, I think because of COVID last year is still hanging around.
So when we go from July 1, okay, that's kind of when we got through that shutdown period and stuff started to happen again, just so you know, because I know the answer. So that's not going to be a major impact. So I'm talking about sales prices. What do you guys think? Robert, you think it's down or you think it's up?
Still prices.
Yeah, ready. This is
up.
Maybe 14% up.
14% up. Okay. TJ, what do you think?
I'm still seeing prices over here going up. I haven't seen them as high going up, but I'd still say, I'm not sure of a percentage, but I'm still seeing them go up. But I have started seeing one or two offers here and there at or just under the list price.
They're up a ton from last year. The values are up a ton.
From last year.
So values are up a ton. All right. So let's get into some of these numbers here, because I know you guys are anxious. And this is going to be information. I think it's going to help us in, working with our clients. So I went through and did some number crunching here, and it really didn't take a whole lot of time. Thank you to Maria Delaferra. She went on here and we pulled this up. I looked at Monmouth County, which is red hot. Okay. Monmouth County has its sales, okay, are down in units. I'm just going to run this number here. They're down in units by about 18.5%. And the price is up 9.1%. So the average home in Monmouth County, in the entire county, went from 555 to 610. 9.91% increase. All right. We took a look at a particular municipality, and Manalapan went from 614 to 720, up a whopping 17.5%. And the units were probably down about 12%. Okay. Chatham, I did Chatham, I ran by quarter, and this was not too difficult to do. I basically ran a CMA, cut and pasted it, and I wanted to take a look at what the numbers are doing quarter to quarter. And our Chatham numbers from Q2, or excuse me, that would have been Q3 of 21. No, Q2 of 21 were average sale price 1.2 essentially, and now it's up to 1.3 435, that same quarter a year later. That's up a whopping 17%. And I think if we're out there meeting with clients, talking to them about particular neighborhoods and areas, we should understand how these particular markets are tending to behave. I looked at like North Plainfield. North Plainfield is up 7%. Plainfield's up 12.24%. The same period from this year versus a year ago. Does that make sense to everybody? So I looked at closed sales and I looked at what's happening in the periods. I looked at inventory, days on market. Days on market seems to be one of the most significant influences on what homes are selling for. And if you look at it, for example, in the first quarter of 2022, which was pretty bad. I thought the fourth quarter contracts was probably about the strongest we had. Does anybody feel that way? Like the fourth quarter, we were roaring, interest rates hadn't gone up. So the ones that closed in the first quarter had an average days on market of 38 days, had an average sales price in Plainfield of 389. The second quarter, when interest rates have already started that cycle of increasing, days on market dropped by 7 days. And interestingly enough, the price went up by $16,000 in just one quarter alone. Okay. So that's a 4.2% increase in a quarter. And I think the biggest correlation is the demand versus the inventory. Okay. So we saw a 4.2% increase in that quarter over quarter and a 12% increase year over year. I'm going to shoot over to some more numbers here. If I can move this up. For Rawway, what do you think Rawway did? Anybody want to guess? 18%, I hear. How does 5.16 sound for Rawway? Average sale price went from 384 to 404. Okay. And, it's pretty steady with about 30 days of inventory with a high of, days on market, a high of 43. And, it's kind of deceptive. If you don't look at that individual market, it could be a little bit misleading. I do think that perhaps if there's a significant change of types of properties that are selling, that might lead us to a false conclusion. Like if there are more condos that were part of this mix. Union, 12.89% increase year over year. And it's the last 2 quarters, it's seen a 5% increase, which is pretty staggering. Okay. And days on the market, the last quarter was down 12 days from the prior. Not always a direct impact. East Orange year over year, only 3% increase. Maplewood, pretty hot market, 11%. And I included this chart with the email out to everybody. You can click on the link, you can get into it. And it's really simple to recreate for any particular town. If you know how to create a CMA, you copy and paste, put it into a spreadsheet, run some totals and compare it. Maybe 6 minutes, 10 minutes tops to do any particular town. If you go on a listing appointment, I think it will dispel some of the mysteries that your homeowners might have in their head, right? In terms of where they should be. And, the shorter the days on the market is a theme that runs true in how you price a home as well as how the market behaves. So if that homes in that market are trending to lower days on market, it's going to press prices up. So if we looked at 2 separate markets in that same time period, if the days on market in one increases, the days on market in another increase, we're going to see that the direction of the change is going to be either negative for the one market or the increase will be substantially less than in the other market. And I'd say there's probably no exceptions to that rule. Okay, I'll repeat that. The days on market causes home prices to go up when it decreases. It's logical and it's true. And it's true on a macro level for an entire market. It's also true on your particular home that you list. If it stays on longer, you're going to get a lower price. I love
So you're
when,
saying in this example, Chatham is 30% less days on market than it was last quarter, 40% up?
no, so Chatham was days on market,
30.7 down.
right? So days on market was 39 days in the first quarter for closing. So those were basically done, October, November, December, probably January under contracts that closed January, February, March, right? So the days on market went from 39 to 27, and the increase for just that quarter was 4.2%.
So that's close date, not contract date.
Correct, close date.
Okay.
Because
thanks.
I don't know what the impact is if it hasn't closed. So that's the best data we have. So I think these are maybe a little bit inconsistent with what we had in our head. And sometimes without facts, we tend to wander or maybe just give a gut feeling, which isn't supported by numbers. If you're new to the mastermind, one of the things that I love to work with agents on it, you go out to a homeowner and they sit there, they cross their arms and they say, hey, Lisa, I'm in no hurry to sell this house. And what they're thinking in their mind is, Anna, you know what? I can wait until the perfect buyer comes along that's going to pay my price, right? Do you think that that's a logical thought from a homeowner? I mean, it doesn't work, but do you think it might be logical that, hey, my house is unique, Anna? We can wait for the right buyer to come along. I think that makes logical sense, right? For them, right? Hey, you know what? And they're going to say, hey, I'm in no hurry. I'm not going to give it away. I'm not going to sell it the first day. I want to wait until we get the right buyer. This is very, very logical. And to be honest with you, until I looked at the numbers, I subscribe to this theory. And many of us, when we sell our own homes, we subscribe to this theory, okay? We can't separate it when it's our own personal sale. Did anybody ever see one of your colleagues selling a house where they don't practice what they preach? Right? And sometimes we see colleagues that are wearing our clothes that do that. Okay. And that is, really dangerous when we do that because we think that we're the exception, right? Oh yeah, but yeah, I hear some people live here saying it's insane, but it happens. I went to visit a colleague of mine, another broker owner, and when I stopped by her house, there was a listing across the street from her, and it was one of her agents. And guess what they did? They overpriced it. And they had to lower their price by $100,000 just to start getting showings. And this is what they do for a living. So I'm just telling you, like, maybe if you're listing your own house, maybe get somebody who has the courage to be honest with you to take a second look at it. And when we talk to our clients, our potential clients, we need to have the conviction to tell them that, time is not going to satisfy a marketing deficiency. Time is going to exaggerate it, right? So once it's been on the market for 2-3 months and it hasn't sold, there's not some, buyer that's going to say, hop online, say, I want to buy a house, say, oh, let me overpay for that one that's been on for 32 days, right? So you laugh, but it's the reality. Okay. Time does not help, drive prices. What's that?
The sellers are thinking that they could do that, and there are agents that go with it.
So we had a comment here. Sellers are trying to take advantage of the market. I mean, the market is still pretty good, but the way that you take advantage of a market is by having the communication skills to get them to draw the right conclusion. Okay. And since I've been in this business, what I've seen, Lisa, is we go like this. We want to butt heads with them with facts instead of draw them to their own conclusion. And that's my aha moment in, working with both buyers and sellers. And the way that, I would recommend accomplishing that is you define the way the program is run, you give them examples, and then you say, hey, if we decide to, work together selling your house, what strategy do you want to use, right? Instead of telling them, here's the price I recommend, because whenever you recommend something, what are consumers programmed to do, Bruce? If somebody says, what's your rate? And you say it's 5 3/4, what are they going to try to do to you? They're going to try to negotiate it down, right? So if I say, Anna, your house is worth 550, you're going to say, well, can't we put it on at 600? Yeah, exactly. We said it in stereo, right? Can't we try it at 600? And once you've tried it, you've already set a precedent that the house becomes stale. So we need to have the facts to back up our story, and we need to have the communication strategy to get our clients to make the right decision. Does that make sense? Is anybody out there seeing your colleagues do that, where they're getting sucked into saying, I want to buy the listing, I'll do whatever Anna, whatever Lisa wants, just so I can get it signed up, right?
A lot of
There are
them.
some companies
Yeah,
out there.
There's
who-
quite a few that do that over here in Bergen County.
There are quite a few that do that in Bergen County. Yeah, it's not unique to Bergen County, TJ. It
No,
happens.
Yeah.
It happens everywhere, right?
It's
Yeah,
all
you see it a
over.
lot.
And we see a lot of price reductions following that.
So,
Oh, yeah.
so let me ask the group here. If you embrace this strategy, right, that overpricing doesn't really work, and you're working with buyers, what might you target? Anybody?
Overpriced listings.
If you target overpriced listings, right? And so that house started at 600, Anna knows it's worth 550. After the stubborn homeowner lowers it to 550, there's still limited activity on it. You can go in there in this market in many cases and negotiate that price, that home below market, because you're not facing competition. Okay. It's almost like if there's a house that's been on the market for so long and you drive past it going to work, and one day I say, is that house still on the market? You don't even know, because you don't pay attention to it, right? It just becomes part of the landscape, right? So the consumers do that same thing. The house becomes irrelevant when it's been on the market for so long that it's not hitting anybody's inbox saying, here's a new listing, right? If they look at it, they're like, Colleen, this house has been on the market for 101 days in the best market ever. There must be something wrong with that house, right? And
You also have to bring in there, Rob, the fact that since June 14th, affordability, because rates dropping, because the Fed did raise rates, which help mortgage rates, affordability's gone up on a $500,000 house with 20% down. Affordability's gone up almost 25 grand. So if you're going after an overpriced listing and you're sitting there looking at a lower rate where you're picking up $100 and something or 25 grand, it's a double whammy for the buyers to be called and told they need to take a look at these.
So Bruce, I'm going to repeat that here, because if I have you on the speaker here, we get a horrible echo. But Bruce had said that the affordability has actually improved the past 30 days.
Since June 14th, since the 15th and the 14th, affordability is up about $22,000 to $25,000 on a 450 to 550 home. For the same payment, you could get that much more money.
So let's just say conservatively, Bruce, it's up 22% in the past 2 weeks, right? So June 14th, that's 2 weeks and a couple of days ago, right? So I would write this down, and I might send this out to my buyers and say, hey, you might
No,
think
Rob, it's not up 22%. It's up 25 grand on 400 grand. It's up like 7-8%, but it's still 25 grand more, 22 grand more. If you're looking at a $400,000 or $500,000 house, rates have gotten better to the point to buy about 25,000 more. So if you're going after overpriced listing and the affordability is increased, you could have a lot of buyers that are not aware of that. They just got to reach out to us and we'll educate them.
So I'm going to repeat it, and thank you for correcting me, Bruce. So on the average home, which is not really the average price here, but if you took a $400,000 home, because interest rates have dropped in the past 2 weeks, if you take a $500,000 home, it would be 8%, Bruce, or right? So it would be $35,000 of additional buying power, because the rates dropped from where to where, Bruce?
It's actually about 25 grand on a $500,000 home. So, and I hate to keep correcting you, but I just don't want anybody to take it the wrong way. A mortgage right now of 400, anywhere from 400 to 450, you could get about $22,000 to $25,000 more mortgage for the exact same payment. So it's increased. I try to keep it more tangible number. For every $500,000, you picked up 25 grand. If you're looking at $1 million, you picked up 50. If you're looking at 500 less, you picked up 25.
So you're talking about, that's what, 5%?
Yeah, probably 6% if I had to get. Yeah, it's not 8.
So write down 5 to 6%. And of course, this is going to change if the rates go up a quarter or down a quarter today or tomorrow, but it's increasing affordability for buyers. And if you're working with homeowners that are looking to sell, it will increase the audience, right? So if you have, 20% more potential buyers, you know, what is that going to do, Manny, to the price? If there's 25% more people walking through the door, there's 25% more qualified people interested in your house. What's that going to do for the price as a seller? It's going to increase it, right? And I think we have an obligation to share that with our clients that, hey, you know what? The recent rise in interest, the recent hikes by the Fed have actually helped protect against long-term inflation and have provided a little bit of shelter for home buyers, whether that lasts forever, whether that is you know, short-term in a week or a month or 6 months remains to be seen. But now is an opportunity, if you haven't sold, to increase the audience and get more qualified people in the door. If you're a buyer, you know, maybe put on your Facebook page, do a TikTok, do an email, whatever you got to do. Say, hey, for the average buyer, for my average buyer, in the past 2.5 weeks, they've got 35,000, whatever your price is, $35,000 more buying power with the same payment. Okay, will that engage some people? I believe so.
And Rob, it's Dan Murphy. Real quick, yesterday there was some good news with the inflation data. So there's a big bond sell-off going on today. So where we are pricing now, this is the best we've looked since June 10th. You know what I mean? So these last 3 weeks have been a little bit rougher than and Bruce could echo than it's been.
So Dan, when you said there's good can you just repeat that so our audience can understand how what the relationship is? Because I'm gonna make a statement and then you can clarify this for me, Dan. I know when I was watching interest rates as a consumer or when I was in the industry, we always looked for bad news about the economy, which meant that rates wouldn't rise or rates would fall. Okay, so bad news in the economy meant lower interest rates. Economy booming means potential for inflation, means higher interest rates. Okay, so Dan, take it from there. So what happened yesterday?
So I'm going to quote an article that I'm reading now from yesterday. So inflation is the enemy of low interest rates. As such, the mortgage market was waiting patiently for this week's key inflation report that was released earlier Thursday. Thankfully, it showed inflation was running a bit cooler than expected. Rates were already having a decent week due to other economic data, both at home and abroad, but the inflation data added some momentum to the rally. The average lender is now at the best level since June 23rd. Many of them are right in line with those levels. You'd have to go back to June 10th to see anything better. So right now, on average, for a 30-year conventional loan, you're looking anywhere from 5.625 to 5.875 for a best case scenario. So basically correct. When inflation data comes out, and I mean, look, you hear the news every day, you see the CPI, you see all that stuff. When inflation comes down, rates come down, period. End of sentence.
Let me be a little more granular on that. What changed yesterday was the PCE, which is the personal consumption expenditures for the first time in 2 years. When you strip out energy and you strip out food, which is gas and eating, for the first time, they haven't gone up to expectations. So that's a little picture of how the inflationary data was supported. So the bottom line is the only thing that's going to make inflation come down is people stop spending. So that's what happened yesterday. And that's the first thing we've seen in 2 years that said, holy shit, raising these rates is starting to help us a little bit. People are spending less. And that's the reality of why it happened. It's inflation data, but there's a lot of inflation data.
Fantastic. So did everybody start to see how this all plays into the conversation, right? And it's not a, you know, we're not presenting to people, you know, we're not selling to people, right? We're, in my opinion, we're educating them so that they can make the right decision. And if we educate them, what's the obvious choice going to be? Who are they going to work with? Us, right? So if you go into a, I'm going to call it a listing opportunity, a possibility of doing a conducting business, right? And the person is committed to selling. You know, what's the percentage of those listings that you're going to get? I'm going to ask you to just type it in or yell it out, and I'm going to ask the audience here. What do you think? If somebody's identified that they're considering selling, it's not your best friend, it's not a past customer, what's your closing rate on that opportunity?
Not a good example.
What's your closing rate? What would you guess, Manny? You're gonna close only 10%. Anna? 90%. How about you?
Well, my closings, I mean. So,
I mean, Lisa, you and I took an opportunity, right? And we closed it from a gentleman in Boston on a house here. You said we worked together, right? But it was a conversation, right? So we had no advantage there. I mean, would you agree that that individual was predisposed to be difficult? I just want to, Lisa's double shaking her head if she could. It was a North Edison or a South Edison seller, right? He was a very challenging client. We turned him. We got the listing signed via Zoom. He had a neighbor there that let us in, and you sold it quickly, right? So we have to have that certainty and that confidence that we can communicate the message. And if we can communicate the message and let them make the choice, I really think if they're serious about selling, we're going to get 95% of those. And if we have those demons in our head, we're sabotaging our own communication. So, and with this data, does this help you feel a little bit more confident? Yes. Right. So if we can be a little bit more confident with having better data, I think that we can have, even if it's not anything we do differently, we have that aura and that expectation that we're going to serve and we're going to earn the business when we have that conversation. And that's a game changer. And for many of us, we're all looking for listings because this market is challenging. But I got to tell you, an agent that only lists is only half an agent, right? Are you going to tell your seller that, hey, you're selling your house for 800,000? You're selling your house for 800,000 and you want to buy $1.2 million? I'm sorry, I'm not going to help you with the purchase. Who's going to turn that business away? Anybody? No, seriously, is there anybody that would turn away an $800,000 seller that wants to trade up to $1.2 million? Even if the market's challenging, you're still going to be a buyer's agent, right? And if you're committed and you understand the numbers and you understand how to communicate, will you be able to get that $1.2 million purchase done? 100%.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it's the mindset, it's the communication, it's understanding the data, it's understanding where the market's going. I feel in looking at individual cases that the market is not as robust as it was. Showings are down. The numbers aren't really playing that out yet. Okay. And I think maybe, a couple examples I could share, and I think I spoke about it last week, was Audrey had a listing that expired, that had to be taken off the market because of a contaminated oil tank. And that was back in October, November, it was under contract, went on in May. Okay, the seller wanted to overprice it after having it expire before. Audrey, very appropriately addressed back to the homeowner and said, look, do you want to make the same mistake you did before? So let's do it right. And I don't know, is Audrey on the call?
Yes, I
So-
am.
So Audrey, just for those who might be first timers on this meeting, or it never hurts to hear it again, can you just give us a 90 seconds history of what happened with that property and how you communicated to the agent about changing the price?
Well, after it was off for a few months, she got all the stuff taken care of. She was being told by people that she should list it for much higher, no less than 625 or somewhere there. So I had to remind her of, what happened before and what we had done previously before we had the oil tank situation. So I did just basically tell her that, I'm the one who's listing it and I'm the professional and we're going to do this right. And so she agreed. And it sold in one day, basically, for
how much
way
above ask?
91.
91,000, and the asking price was 599, right?
Yes.
So when Audrey goes for her next listing appointment, shows her stats in her local market, when she's selling houses for 15% more, do you think Audrey can get 5-6% listings? Do you think that the clients are going to listen with that history, that track record? I would say yes.
Absolutely.
And I want to congratulate you again. I know I've done this before on the call, but for those of you who are taking the initiative to hold the line and remind clients that, you know, you got to trust us if we work together and demonstrate good stories. You know, that story for at least a year is going to be one I hope you repeat a lot to clients, Audrey. So I'm going to turn over. I don't know, Colleen, do you want to talk a little bit about what's going on in our market in Southeast Florida?
Yeah. Okay. Let me, can I share the screen here?
You should be able to.
Okay. If we look at, let's take a look at Broward County. Whoops, sorry. They're not letting me in.
So I'm gonna just mention something that is really interesting. When I was studying the numbers, Colleen, is
Yeah.
that the trends were incredibly similar, even though, you know, Southeast Florida has the impression of being a lot hotter, not just temperature wise, but the market being frothier than what we have here. You know, the numbers are not as dramatic as we would expect. Like, I know Ron Piccolo, many of you don't know, he's in Southeast Florida. He had predicted 35%, and there are individual markets that are there, but the overall countywide market is more in line with that 15, 12, 18% range, and not dissimilar from Monmouth County, for example. That always happens when you're on stage, Colleen.
I know. Here it goes.
So
okay, here we are. Okay, so let's look at very quickly, we'll take a look at last year, December for Broward. Let's pick, all right, we'll pick Coral Springs. And you can see, sorry, I've got to minimize.
So Colleen, I want to just make a statement. Our report looks exactly like this, but we don't have palm trees.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
You know, you can see the increases, but if we go back,
So Colleen, before you go back, let's take a look at,
Oops,
can we just go back
sorry.
there for a second?
Yeah.
So Coral Springs is a pretty hot market by all accounts.
yes, sorry.
And I just want to see what the increase year over year was for there real quick.
Okay,
Because sometimes if we don't have data, we trust emotion, and emotion will often lead us to over exaggerate one way or another. It's human nature.
all right, so what we're looking at right now is closed sales for 2021 in May and 2022. And you can see they're down 25% change.
All right, sales price is up.
Yep, sales price is up exactly the same as in Jersey.
It looks like it's in this example, it's up a little bit more.
Right. New listings are what makes me happy. Are trending up 7.1%, which is really good. Also, the inventory of homes is still lower, 70%. It's down 13.6. Months of supply is about the same.
And it doesn't show you average days on market, does it? Not
Yeah.
right here, I don't think.
Yeah, no. But I know the average days on market. Interesting, it's 9.
9 days on market.
Yes.
Average, yeah,
And that's up from 8 last year.
Gotcha. All right. So Colleen, do you have any other observations for our Southeast Florida market?
Yeah. Let me go over here. Hold on a second.
So I want to give it, while you're doing that, give a big acknowledgement since we welcomed our plantation office, and I know of at least 6 referrals that have gone back and forth, 2 listings that were referred up north, and 4 buyers that have been referred down to our office down there. And that's in 1 month as of today.
It's very exciting. So you can see, after 2 years of record setting, this is from the Association of Realtors. The National Association reports existing home sales were down 2.4% from the previous month, while pending sales also fell to 3.9. The listings have increased 1.6 for single family, but decreased for townhouses. And in Florida, that's pretty much because we've got the closings that took place during season, which is, you know, all the snowbirds coming down. Let's see if I can get you.
So Colleen, I want to just point something out for our group here. And Maria, myself, and some others went to a Remax Teams event, and there were a couple of Remax broker owners that had real estate schools. And in the past 18 months, you know, going from like February earlier, they were making so much money from the real estate school that they even kind of neglected their brokerage business a little bit. But guess what happened? Registrations for real estate school has dried up, right?
Exactly.
Now, if the unit sold is down 16%, if you take a look around the registration of active real estate agents, I'll bet you it's down 30%, if not more. So our fair share is greater, our opportunity is bigger than it was a year ago. Okay? Because a lot of people have exited the market. You know, some of you
absolutely agree with that.
You know, some of our team leaders have you know, tried to coach people up and made decisions to put some people into referral. If you're not committed, you're not going to thrive in this market. And those of us who are, we need to look at the total picture, not just, you know, the numbers are down 16.9%, but there's 30-some% less of us in the market. So that means that we should earn more business.
Absolutely. We have a lot of opportunity.
So,
and I think, as you were saying, some of the, we're even seeing expired listings, which is almost unheard of, but they are, because a lot, like you said, a lot of them were so overpriced.
30 and 35%.
And we're seeing a lot of for sale by owners on the market a longer time now. They're not selling as quick.
But if we have the narrative, right, we have the conversation, and we know exactly what to say, you know, a little plug for the book, exactly what to say. If you can learn that without being scripted, when you're invited in to sit with somebody, there's no chance they're not going to work with you. Because a FSBO, I mean, think of all the things that we do in a transaction, all the possibilities that can go wrong, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, are you gonna, you know, do root canal? No. I think real estate's a lot more complex than root canal. And, you know, it's somebody said it feels like root canal. But
Without the Novocaine.
So but if you think about it, like sometimes we get, confused and we fall into the trap of, oh, the market's so hot. It's only 9 days on the market in Southeast Florida. Why are we significant? Why are we relevant? So there are just so many ways when you rehearse that listing conversation that we add value, that we should be charging twice what we do. If anybody feels like they're overpaid, just private message me here, and I just want to have a conversation with you, okay? Because I know that those of us that are committed and successful, we get up early, we take calls at all crazy hours of the day. We're thinking about different ways that we can grow our business. This is almost like a lifestyle instead of a career, and we deserve every penny that we make. If we let others communicate our value, okay, we're going to be relegated to fighting for FSBOs, fighting for expireds. We're going to be, trying to demonstrate our commission value, right? I mean, I see a lot of 3.5% listings from our team here, which many of you will get a smiley face when I see that close, because Jay's got 4 of them. Jay's not shy. Oh, and you got 4%. But I mean, like, you have to know that you have value for an expired, for a FSBO, and you have to think not about, oh, you could put it on Zillow and get it under contract, but what happens from there, right? It doesn't appraise. You have issues. You have the emotion of a homeowner dealing directly with the transaction. That can never be good. Oh, you're saying my kitchen's ugly, Lisa? Take your offer and right? There's nothing wrong with that bathroom. It's been there for 42 years and it's perfect.
And it's pink and blue.
It's avocado green.
Yeah.
You can't get that kind of quality, Colleen. No, but I mean, you understand what I'm talking about, and we need to be able to drive that value. And when you have that value, you can sit across from somebody with a 90+% conversion rate. And if you are, not, and I like to be humble, not arrogant, where I'm overbearing, but, and maybe in Anna's case, where she might say a 90 or 95% close rate, maybe out of that 5 or 10%, maybe 7 of that 10% is people that she just decides, I don't want to work with them. Because sometimes you enter into a relationship and it's abusive from the first moment, right? And we don't deserve that. We don't want to enter into, lose-win relationships where the client wins and we lose. Okay, there are some people that honestly, I wouldn't want to work here, because I think this is like my family. This is, I live this career, and you should have that same standard for people that you offer your services to. Because, we live in an abundant world. It's not a scarce world. That person that is not realistic, that's difficult, that's not willing to do what they need to do to get the desired outcome. Let's face it, if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, right, with the house, who's doing it? Probably us, right? We're going in there and we're coordinating, and we're doing the things that they should be doing. We're not getting paid anymore. It's ironically these people that often try to pay us less because they don't respect what we do. So we need to look at things from an abundant planet. We need to look at things from the value that we add. We need to be confident and not arrogant. We need to know that we can add value. We need to know that we should win every reasonable opportunity. Okay. And that's just a mindset. And if you don't do your homework, if you don't do the numbers, if you're a part-timer and you don't understand the market, that's why they're out, right? They don't understand it. And the group of people getting together and sharing experiences, high level people, if Anna's doing 15, 20 million, Jay's doing 12 million, 15, whatever it is, you get this, everybody in the room here, like we have a collective knowledge second to none. And, it's just so awesome when I see people, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And that happens when you're collaborating, right? It's not like, hey, Jay's got the secret how he gets 4% listings. Somebody asked him, he's going to share that, and he often does. And those are the things that help us to be, better than we could ever be operating in a bubble, right?
In my class.
What's that, Ron?
The class I gave last Tuesday was telling sellers, when you're at a listing appointment, to give them a quick example of some of the things that we go through, in our process each day. Because a lot of them think that, oh, we put the house on the market, put it in the MLS, and we collect our commission, that's it. And I said, to the agents, I said, just give them a step-by-step process of what goes into a sale, what goes into a listing, and start your conversation with that right away when you meet with the seller. This way they know and they respect what you're doing, because a lot of them think our job is simple. It's not.
So Ron, and this is not a shameless plug for the Rural Workman systems that he has, but when Maria and I were sitting next to each other watching the Real Teams mentor program, where they're trying to teach us to be better mentors to team leaders, I want to say half the room almost fell under their chair when he's like, all right, here's 129 things that happened in a transaction. And he outlined it. And this is a spreadsheet, which was, I'm a spreadsheet person, but this was massive. And he's going down that list and saying, look, if you drop the ball on some of these things, what's going to happen, right? You're going to compromise the service. You're going to jeopardize the transaction, right? And what would happen if you just went on and you shared that with somebody, said, look, here's the 129 things that we do to help you maximize the value of your home. I'll bet you they're beyond putting it on Zillow. They can't name two other things, right? And in Florida, Colleen, I think it's the 12th or 13th or 14th of July. They're coming down to Fort Lauderdale. So I made them come really close for us there. And if you have a team, or even if you don't have a team, I saw people without teams going there just to absorb the content. Okay. And some of them don't even want to have a team. They just wanted to see what the process was about.
Sounds good to me. That's great.
And, so that's, that's a myth that, homes sell themselves, right? Homes do not sell themselves. Talented, committed people sell homes. So,
Rob, if I could make just kind of an overall comment here for a minute, with all the talk that's been going on with, the market slowing down and everything, and because of all of the economic news and everything, and getting very quiet. Last night, my wife and I just happened to go to an outdoor concert in town, and clearly we just went for the music, and I can't tell you how many people walked up to me and said, what's really going on here? And, my ability to talk to them spontaneously, you could just see the looks on their faces going, oh, now I understand, and we should talk some more, and I think that's the ability, that's the confidence that we're talking about, and the knowledge that we're talking about that you have to have, that on the spur of the moment, when you least expect it, people are going to walk up to you and ask you what's going on. And if you can tell them, you're going to be their realtor.
So it's almost like you set this up, Robert. See, I got my name badge and I got my pen on.
Did you hand your cards out, Bob?
So, and I'm looking around in the room here, and probably 70% of us aren't wearing a name badge or a pin. And I'm not being critical, but I'm just saying, we should have that. It's top of mind, right? When you go someplace, people are, you're somewhere now.
Part-time job.
Okay, but all right, yeah. A few of them have them in their purse or their pocket. I see that the number's up to 50% here now, just for the record, Robert. If when we're in this business, and for this is I'm looking at you that have not been in a down market, which is a lot of us here. Okay. If you're in the real estate industry, the professionals, we don't exit, we don't retreat. Okay. We gain market share when the market is shifting because it gives us the ability to, differentiate ourselves from the rest of the crowd, right? And people need us. People really need us more when the market's changing. You know, if you get your content from whatever media you're looking at, all the headlines generally are negative, right? And if you're listening to the headlines, you might think that the world is coming to an end in real estate, right? And I don't want to say that it's not going to change because it will be changing. You know, if you have a 201k, right, or a 301k because it's been shaved quite a bit, you know, that's called the wealth effect. That's going to have some impact on transactions. But we need to play and we need to provide the value because people who want to transact deserve the ability to have a competent person that's going to guide them through this process. We're not just going to put it on the MLS and, you know, do what we did in the past year, field 15 offers. We're going to have to be deliberate. We're going to have to be intentional. We're going to have to know what we're talking about. If we know what we're talking about, we deserve to be confident. Okay. And for God's sake, don't be a secret agent. You know, let people know what you do. If you're doing a great job, let people know. Ask people to, you know, hey, you know, at least I hope you were satisfied with the job we did on your house. Great. Hey, do you know 3 people that you could recommend me to? Right. If you say to them, hey, you know, don't forget to recommend me, versus if I say, hey, do you have 3 people that you can refer me to? What's that? Right, but let me ask you, do you have in your system, do you ask for a certain number of referrals when you close something? Say, hey, Lisa, can you think of 3 people you could refer me to? And if you don't, do you think you're gonna get 3 people? And do you think, let me ask you, there are people that are referrers in the world, right? And those are a small minority. And then there are satisfied raving fans that are a silent majority, right? And they're not promoting you because they're, you know, they're like, oh, you know, Anna did such a great job, but you know, I just don't want to be pushy and like, but if you say, hey, Anna, could you give me 3 people that I could help, that I could serve, that I could help? Like, and you ask for a specific number, they're gonna be like this. I can only think of 2 right now. And you're like, 2, that's not too bad, right? And don't forget to call me with the 3rd, right? But Colleen, you know that's true, right? That's why you're
Absolutely.
laughing.
That's why I'm laughing.
And if you just say, hey, you know, do you know anybody looking that you could pass my card to? How many people are going to give you a referral there? Only that 5 or 10% of people that are the referrers that want to tell the world what's going on, but they're the minority.
And you have to remember too, when you're out, the different vendors that you used, restaurants that you go to frequently. You know, it's you shouldn't be embarrassed to ask for a referral. You're providing a service. You're going to take care of those people better than anyone else would.
So Colleen, I want to have you follow up with Terry to see if she ever followed up on that lead that we got for wearing our Remax garb.
Oh, yeah, when you were in the restaurant.
Yes, Terry from Parkland and I went in. I had my, I just got done door knocking. I had my Remax hat and my name badge on. And Terry was wearing some Remax attire because she's always promoting. As a matter of fact, she had a minor surgery and she got some gas and she was telling him, time to list your house while she was going under.
That's the truth.
That's a true story. She goes, Rob, I was so embarrassed. I'm like, don't be. And the surgeon felt bad because they weren't selling their house. But anyway, the restaurant manager specifically came up to us, who can afford to buy something. And he said, look, you guys are just teasing us. Why do you wear that attire? Because he knew Remax was real estate. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, there's nothing to buy. And we had this conversation and, the guy's like, yeah, you know, I want to buy something 400,000 to 500,000. I can't find anything. By the time it's on the market, it's gone. And I'm like, all right, tell me more. He's like, you know, my landlord raised my rent from 2,080 to 2,800. Right. And I'm like, you got a $700 increase in 1 year? He goes, no, 720.
That even allowed?
No. So anyway, and he has 20% to put down. He was the general manager of the restaurant that we were in. And I think he knew exactly where he wanted to be. And if we weren't wearing, and I didn't, shame on me, we didn't ask. He just came up to us and said, hey, you guys are just teasing the market. There's nothing out there. And we just had a conversation. And Colleen's lead was written on, like when they take an order on that pad, that little green pad, he wrote everything on that little green pad like it was an order and he gave it to us.
Yeah, I'll follow
Love it,
up
I
with
love it.
Terry. Terry is working with him. I know that. I don't know if she sold him anything yet.
Fantastic. Does anybody have any questions? Is this helpful so that you can go in and maybe, create your own report? Our leadership team is, they don't know it, but they're now volunteering to help anybody that wants to create these reports. So,
So Rob, there's a little a little side note here, and maybe you can help shed some light. What do you do with we know that properties are, sitting a little bit longer because they're overpriced. Agents are not being, firm with their sellers. So now these properties are sitting. And now you go to make an offer and the buyer knows that it's overpriced. So you're putting in a lower offer and the sellers are not wanting to, counter. Finally, they do counter at a very minimal and the agent is backing up the seller and has really no control. So now, I'm sure other agents are starting to come across this. What is your take on it and what would you do?
I would look at that as an opportunity because the agent is working against their client by continuing to push a false narrative because if it's not sold, right, and they're telling their client that it's worth more than it is, the market has spoken, right?
Yep.
So what I would do is I would try to have a practical conversation. I would make sure that the seller signs off acknowledging that they received the offer, right? And I would work on, it sounds like what's your roadblock in that scenario, everybody?
I think it's the agent.
It's the agent, yes. It's truly the agent. So
This is a property that's been sitting already for 27 days.
So I'm just curious, Marie, what would happen if you said to that agent, hey, I'm just curious, the market's pretty good, right? Yeah. Uh-huh. And how long has this house been on the market? 27 days.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's been sitting for 27 days? Right.
You know what? I did have that conversation with them.
Okay.
All right. And he's still backing up the, the original list price. And he's so off by at least $25,000. And I told him, now, this is a friend, a dear, dear friend of ours. And I don't blame my buyer for going up any more than what he's offering now.
Soon enough, the agent's gonna realize, that he's gonna have to bring that price down. See, that's educating the seller. That's from very, very beginning.
So if anything, you know what? I'm gonna wait another week. My buyer is not really needing to buy. He wants to buy. He doesn't need to buy. So it's in our court. The ball is in our court. I think by waiting another week, now you're down, to over a month. I mean, if he still has the same excuse, then shame on the agent.
Yep. Agreed.
Another strategy would be to, I'm not a big fan of this, but to make a little bit of a higher offer and just say, look, it's subject to it being, I'm not waiving any of the appraisal. Right. And then let the appraisal come in, and dictate the value. If it's something that is not subjective, because I know a lot of things are subjective in the appraisal industry, but if it's a property that you feel pretty confident it's not going to appraise, say, look, maybe we'll meet you at 15,000 more, but we're not willing to waive the appraisal in this market. And then when that property under appraises, then, you have a good chance of getting it, But look, we just need to be creative. We need to control there's a lot of things in a real estate transaction that can cause it to go kerplunk, right? If you're new in the business, you're just learning all the different things that could kerplunk a transaction. And we are like we're the quarterback of the whole process. Okay. And if we have a weak line, we get crushed, right? If somebody doesn't block people for us, we're getting run over. So we need to have a team, we need to have a process, and we need to have a strategy for everything. And in this case, I think it's the agent that can't control the seller, or the agent is not the professional that we desire to work with. And maybe you just work them down.
Rob, I had an agent come to me this week and say that they have a listing that they got a very nice offer on, over asking, but their seller was hesitant because they were saying, but it's only one offer. Where's my multiple offer?
Yeah. Yeah. We've had that too, Robert. We're seeing more and more of that.
I mean, I do see traffic and showing. Is anybody seeing showings not down a lot?
Yes.
I see a
My
lot of
agents
people
are
saying,
telling me. Yeah.
so showings are way down, right? Rates are going up. Maybe the story, and I'm not saying it's the reality, but maybe the story is that, a lot of people were scared into taking immediate action because they were afraid that rates would go to 10%. And those people are going to be, at some point, those people will have, done their transactions, and then we're going to be left with, hey, every 4 showings, we get 1 offer, right? And if we're only getting 6 showings, we're lucky to get 1 or 2 offers. Okay. And we need to make sure that we know how to navigate through a changing market. Okay. And in terms of, having the right mindset and the right frame of mind, I see Alexa there with the coolest office in Florida. We did some calling, which I love to do. And I think the way that you engage and the way that you behave is 95% of the outcome. Okay. And when I was newer in the industry, I thought, let me find a good calling list. And it's not about a good calling list. It's find a good caller. Find somebody who cares, find somebody who can communicate, find somebody who can converse with the person on the other end of the phone. That's the game changer, team. It's not about, our Zillow or Realtor or, or any of these leads better. It's, are you the person that can get the job done, right? So you need to look forward to a difficult seller, right? Not all sellers are going to be, rational and proper. And you need to be prepared and have a strategy for how you're going to handle that. Because if you don't have a strategy, right, when it happens, and it inevitably will, what's the outcome going to be if you don't have a strategy, if you don't know exactly how you're going to handle every behavior? What do you think, Lisa? You're going to get the listing? Miriam, are you going to be able to get that buyer a house if you can't control them or you don't know how to engage them? You're going nowhere, right? So we need to know, and we need to not only feel like we can cover it, we need to look forward to those things, because those are the things that differentiate us. That's what makes us special. That's what helps us deliver that experience that others can't do. So, embrace what others think are difficult. Have a structure. If you're in South Florida, attend the Teams meeting. It's incredibly enlightening. If you have a team, you're thinking about building a team, or if you're an individual, go to your manager, try to figure out what you're doing well, what you're not doing well. Let's retool for the next half of a year. Today is the first day of the second half of the year. And, let's transact with purpose and intent. So I hope everybody enjoyed the Zoom, and there were limited problems getting on instead of Ring Central. This will be our new platform. And I thank you for your time. This is pretty amazing. We have a handful of people here. We have a great audience on a holiday weekend. I think somebody on our leadership team said nobody's going to show up on Friday before a holiday weekend.
So.
Lisa came for the food. So, but anyway, thank you all. I hope this was helpful to you, and have a great holiday, and we'll see you next Friday.
Be safe,
Thanks.
everyone.
Have a
Happy
good weekend.
4th, everybody.
Happy holidays.